Howdy, folks. I'm Mark, and today I'm joined once again by Elizabeth Coats Bowen. Biza, thank you for coming on back.
Thanks for having me.
Well, absolutely. I should have said thank you for joining me for this short talk about video games. Got to get it in for the branding. But you are listening to Quick Play, so let's get right into it. We are doing this series over the course of the year. Now that we're 5 years into the 2020s, which is half a decade, so kind of throughout this year, we are talking about what has been your game of the decade. So it's just, I mean, it's a silly question because it's only been half the decade, but what's it been so far? Because it's just a nice little checkpoint. Talk about games that we like that came out in the 2020s. And so, Biza, what has been your game of the decade so far?
I'm going to go with Elden Ring.
Nice.
I checked right before I came on this podcast, and I've played it for 224 hours.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I can seriously claim all of that time. There were some periods during work from home where I would do an attack, run away, and then I would work for 10 minutes and then do another attack and then run away again. I know it's not the most kosher way of playing video games.
Is that I have not played Elden Ring. Of course, someone had to choose it eventually, so I'm glad it was you. But can't you not pause in that game?
Oh yeah, you cannot pause. So what I would do is I would fight a boss or some character that I could not beat. So what I would do is do some kind of magic spell that would actually do some damage on whoever I was trying to fight, and then run away and hide until I could recharge that spell. I know that all of your listeners are going to be horrified hearing me say this, but that's why I think my 224 hours might be a little inflated.
About 195 of those have been in a waiting
active state of play. No.
Well, nice. So one question I like to ask is in your perception of it, in your take, what is it about? And that's about the story, about the game itself, how it plays.
I think,
what do you think?
It is about discovering a melancholy, ghostly, abandoned world and freaky monsters.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
I remember one of the earlier trailers coming out, and there's just a giant mass of hands, with fingers kind of just crawling towards you. And it's I'm out. There's no way I'm playing this. So the hands, just too many hands is my take, and I've not touched it, but
so
it's spooky.
I love a weird guy. I love a weird guy. And when I say I love a weird guy, I mean I love a guy who's just a bunch of hands.
Just a bunch of hands.
Or a bunch of eyeballs, teeth, whatever.
So do you know what the story is? Because I don't really know, what's up with it. George was involved in there somewhere.
Yes. I can't say that I see a whole lot of similarity in the storytelling between, I don't see a lot of through lines between Elden Ring and Game of Thrones. And I think that was a critique that some people had of why would you advertise that George R. Martin was involved in the making of this video game? Because there's not much of a story. I think, there is kind of a medievally feel in the world. Sure. I think there are interesting gods and heroes and monsters and devils. And, I think that they do have an interesting lore that is it's more about discovering the lore than following a storyline, I think.
Okay.
It seems like it's a world where there used to be this, kind of class of heroes that have fallen. They're now called the Tarnished, and you're trying to make your way to the Erd tree, which is this like beautiful source of life. And it has been a little while since I've been like really deep in playing this game, so I'm sure I
Sure.
may have butchered a little bit. But I
I
think
mean,
it's a little bit more about picking up pieces as you go along.
nice. Um, is it like there are different lore dumps? Like you find this sort of thing like Skyrim, where you find books and scrolls and you read through it. And it's kind of there if you want it, but it's not really spoon fed to you.
Yeah, so there are so many like you pick up a book and read a bit of lore. It's more like as you're going through, you meet characters who tell you about this hero or anti-hero, and you only just get like little bits and pieces from each of those characters. And so you kind of have to like put together the story from the different scattered characters around the map that you're interacting with,
Yeah.
who are, kind of giving you quests or equipment or things like that.
Gotcha. So, did you play any like Dark Souls games or Bloodborne before this?
I have not.
So, I know like you are similar to a lot of people who jumped in Elden Ring just because it,
Hmm.
like, I mean, how did you get into it, even not having come from like a Soulsborne background or playing those games before?
Kind of the marketing worked on me. I thought it looked
You
really
heard George's
cool.
siren call.
Yeah. I was like, like Game of Thrones. I think I saw Miyazaki and I was like, oh, interesting. And it was definitely a different Miyazaki than the one I was thinking of. Um,
Yeah.
but then everyone was just like talking about what a great game it was.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I will say connection, Miyazaki connection. Hayao Miyazaki, the one that I am familiar with, the Studio
Right.
Ghibli movies, very much inspired Breath of the Wild and Zelda
Oh,
games.
yes.
And I did see Breath of the Wild as a kind of inspiration or something that a lot of critics referenced when they're talking about Elden Ring, which is weird because it's
Mm,
such a different vibe. But in terms of
sure.
like open world storytelling, the story not being very linearly told, but something that you
Right.
kind of pick up on in kind of spurts and droplets as you
Yeah.
go through the
Right.
game. I think they're kind of similar in that way.
Nice. So, what else do you like about it? Like, you spent 220 hours, most of which was not running, or not waiting. But like, yeah, what brought you in? What made you stay, I guess?
Yeah, I think the world definitely was intriguing to me. It was really beautiful, sometimes in a traditional, green grasses, blue skies kind of way, and sometimes in a, oh, this swamp is like very creepy, but also like really intriguing to me kind of way.
Mhm.
I liked, the discovery of learning more about the lore and the characters, exploring the map. I love an open world. And I think something that I read about why Elden Ring was more popular than other Souls movies or video
I got
games.
movie still on the brain. Yeah.
Yeah, is
Elden
that
Ring movie coming out eventually. Yeah.
there are, if you get stuck, you can always go and do something else, you know, power up, level up, get better
Yeah.
weapons, get better spells, and come back to where you were before. And I think that was really appealing to me. In non-open world video games, I'm not like the most skilled video game player. If I get stuck and I can't go and do something else, it can get really frustrating and I'll, you know, just kind of quit playing the game.
Sure.
But in an Elden Ring, there was a boss that I just like kept trying to beat and kept trying to beat and kept trying to beat, and I could not do it. And then so I just went and explored the world, did so many other things for so many hours, finally went back to this boss, beat him pretty easily, and then actually realized I was like so overpowered that a lot of the rest of the game was like way
Nice.
easier, and then that was like when I was really having fun.
Nice.
Because
Yeah.
then I could like explore, fight, but I wasn't running into a wall like I had
Sure.
been for a while. Um, so it was like I felt like I was being rewarded for exploring, which is what I really like to do.
Nice. Good stuff. What do you wish was different about it? Anything that you would like to change?
I do wish that there were some more character interactions.
Hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what we were something we were talking about in our video game versus movie conversation is I
Right.
was saying that I really love storytelling where you learn more about human nature, the human experience. And I think there are little hints of that in Elden Ring. You know, jilted lovers that
Hmm.
you meet at various points along the map. You know, at one point, a woman looking for her lover, and then later, you know, finding a tragic end. But I wish there was a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
Maybe a few more characters that you meet more consistently.
Sure. You want some more weird guys, but the ones that aren't trying
Yeah.
to kill you.
Yeah, there's like this jar guy. You know, he's one of the most wholesome
Oh, yeah, I've seen
characters.
this. Yes.
Um, you know, more jar guys.
Yeah. That's something that I realized, like, that I appreciated about Red Dead Redemption 2 was like, oftentimes it's the side quests that were just a weird offshoot that was a lot more fun if you just kind of met someone and then they disappeared, but
Yeah.
it's a fun little narrative side story.
Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah. So you may have mentioned something along these lines already, but like, what especially about it like makes it special? Like, why is this one your game of the decade so far?
Hmm. I think that the creepiness feels unique to me,
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I am a sucker for stories that are kind of melancholy or bittersweet. And that's not really a feeling. That's a feeling that I've gotten from movies before, but it's not really something that I've gotten from video games before.
Sure.
And I think that that's like really special that they were able to create that feeling of melancholy. It's
Yeah.
not just totally scary or sad. It's like you can see in this world a beauty that's been tarnished
Hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
lost, faded. It's still there, but
Yeah.
there's something that's been corrupted,
Yeah.
and I think that's unique in a way that really drew me to this world.
Interesting. Yeah. Kind of, as you're talking through that, made me realize like there are plenty of dark like video games, but it's like sci-fi dark or
Mm-hmm.
gloomy or just like depressing. But there's not much that's in this vein of like spooky in a like melancholy is your
Mm-hmm.
word. Like there's not much melancholy in video games because usually that's like, well, that's a bummer. People want to play melancholy games. Like
Mm-hmm.
but it seems like this really hits that note really well.
Yeah. And I think you know, I think a part of the plot is that you are like trying to restore this world to its former beauty.
Hmm.
I'll, in full transparency, despite having played it for 224 hours, I have not actually finished this game.
That's fine.
So
I haven't touched it. So
I have a feeling that it doesn't turn out so well in the end, but I think that's
I don't
there's
know.
still something appealing about
Yeah.
trying to repair a broken world.
Yeah. I can appreciate that and get behind that. What do you think of the movie? They're announcing this movie with Alex Garland. What do
Well,
you?
okay, I love Alex Garland. One of
Okay.
actually, I should have mentioned this on our movies podcast. One of my favorite movies of this century is Annihilation, which is an Alex
Oh, yeah.
Garland adaptation of a short story. But I think it feels very video gamey in many ways. It's also about a very strange and melancholy world. And
Mhm.
I think the atmosphere of Annihilation will fit really well with Elden Ring. I have a hard time picturing how you will narrativize Elden Ring into a movie.
Sure.
But if I am like thinking about my experience of Annihilation, it's also a movie that has it's light on plot and explanation, heavy on vibes and scary monsters and melancholy loneliness and reaching for whatever human connection you can. So
Nice.
if it's like Annihilation, I'm pumped.
You're down.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Um, well, I guess too, like if this is your game of the decade so far, do you think this will still be a game of the decade in 2030? Or will this be something else that you think will supplant it?
I think I don't know in either movies or TV shows if I have a true number one pick that really trumps everything else.
Sure.
Even though I did pick Elden Ring, I would really call it more of a top tier than the absolute
Sure.
number one for me.
Yeah.
And I think that would still be the same 5 years from now.
Nice.
Maybe there will be some others that I might like more. But if I just think about like my general way of approaching what are my favorite, what are the best, it's more about a top tier than one in particular that rises above everyone
Sure.
else.
That's fair. That was a very eloquent way to skirt around the question. That's fine. Well, our time is short.
Asking me to predict the future. I can't do that.
I'm just saying, do you think this has staying power? Which you answered yes. You do think it has staying power.
I do.
So,
Yes.
um, well, our time is short, but before we go, what is one hope that you have for video games for the rest of the decade? Like, what's something you want to see? Is there another game you hope that will come out? Or trend? What do you think?
I would love to see more video games that center women.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's definitely been a change in the perception and of video games being totally male dominated. And,
Sure.
there are definitely some big video games that have women protagonists, like The Last of Us. I don't, yeah, I actually haven't played that one. I don't know how much you would say Joel is the protagonist versus Ellie, but, she's
Sure.
at least definitely a big part of that game.
Yeah. My understanding is you play as Ellie and Abby in part two.
Yeah. So, anyways, there could be
Yeah.
more
Sure.
games that
Yeah.
are a bit more women centric.
I haven't seen this yet, but have you seen stuff for South of Midnight?
No, I haven't heard of this.
So it came out back in April. Kind of came and went a little bit, but it's like this kind of stop motion esque Southern Gothic game, but stars a woman.
I love a
Uh,
Southern Gothic story, so I'm in.
yeah, check out South of Midnight. It's got like I want to check it out just on vibes alone. Looks really fun.
Great.
Uh, Looks like a cool world to tromp around in.
Yeah.
Well, nice. Well, I don't know if you have another answer to this question since we kind of just asked it, but one name, one game. What are you playing?
Well, I'll try not to flub it as much as I did last time. Speaking of women protagonists, I've been playing Star Wars Outlaws.
Nice. Very nice. Have you played any Metroid games?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, you should check out probably Metroid Prime would be a good one for you to check out.
Oh, all the games have the word Metroid in them.
Yes, they do.
Okay. Okay.
But they are the first Metroid game was like it was a surprise. It is a female protagonist at the end, and now it's just it's Samus is a female protagonist.
All right.
One of like the longest standing female protagonists of video games
Yeah.
since '86, I think. 80, oh, I hope so. '87. I don't know.
When I played KOTOR, I did make my protagonist, female protagonist, which
Nice.
actually makes the story kind of weird, but whatever.
I need to actually play through that. I have it on Steam. I need to play through KOTOR. I still don't think I know the plot twist. There's some like major plot
Oh,
twist in KOTOR that I've never been spoiled on. I might have just forgotten, but
yeah, you got to finish that. It's a
I mean, I
great
played like an
plot
hour. I
twist.
should do it. I got my Steam Deck. I'll figure it out. What am I playing? You know what? I'm gonna say I need to keep working on Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. I championed that game and I played like a third of it. Well, Biza, thank you again for joining me. Where else are you out on the internet?
I am, you know, on Facebook Marketplace, snatching up whatever I can.
L- Looking for those deals.
Yes, the
Nice.
beautiful antique chairs getting sold for a sweet, sweet price.
Nice. I just sold maybe an antique table. I don't know. It was something that was handed down to Sarah, and we were like, we can't. This is bad for kids. We gotta
Oh,
sell this.
wow.
It was already taken away. I'm sorry.
Mm. Next time,
Uh, Next time we'll let you
reach
know.
out to me first.
Here we go. I got like a nicest glass side table. If you want me to ship that up to where you are, but I
Yeah.
went out with it. Well, thank you all for listening in. You can follow us on major podcasting services or on YouTube. You can press all the good buttons if you enjoy this conversation. You can also find us on the proper socials at Quick Play Pod and let us know, is Elden Ring, is that the game of the decade? I'm sure it's for a lot of people it is, but that's all the time we have for today. Thanks. Bye.